All right, hey, it's Ronin Man, back for episode 2. Thanks very much for your comments on episode 1, talking about the phases of becoming a MGTOW and my story of how I got to this place. So, give you a recap. I started being a MGTOW in 1992. So today we're going to talk about one of the key things in being different than anybody else and blowing off society's expectations, and that is how not to be unblackmailable. Okay, one of the things when you're trying to change is when you try to change yourself, people have a difficult time with it. And if you try to do something that is socially unacceptable openly, you're going to have some major problems. People will not like it. The truth about the world is that there's a lot of people out there who are very nasty and secretive about the way they screw you over. So to your face, they'll tell you that you're a great guy, but in behind your back, they will absolutely fuck you over so bad that you won't even know what happened. And I say this from experience. So especially when you're a cool guy. Jealousy is one of the worst emotions that ever. And when somebody starts going free, away from society's expectations, all those guys out there who are stuck in the system will be very, very jealous of you. Male jealousy is one of the worst things. People talk about mean girls and, it's like Hollywood, the girls are the worst, this and that. I disagree. I really disagree. Maybe it's because it's never talked about, but male jealousy is really bad, if you ask me. It is freaking evil. You have to do everything you can to avoid male jealousy because it will take you down. I mean, like in the Vietnam movie where there'll be like the one guy that everybody's super jealous of, and then he gets caught behind the troop as they advance, and the one guy, it's just him and the guy who hates him, and then he just looks at him like, "There's no one to help you now, son," and then shoots him, right? And then it's war, so no one's ever going to think that that they wouldn't know he did it, right? Because everybody's getting killed around you. So whether that's accurate or not, that's in the movies, and I always think of that because I've had guys screw me over so bad that I actually envision myself in that situation. Like, there are guys who actually hate you so much that they feel like they would want to kill you. And I personally think, in wartime, when nobody was looking, I personally think they would. Okay, I'm not kidding around. I think male jealousy is a very serious thing. You got to be careful not to rile it up too much. And if you're a cool guy and you're breaking away from society and you're happy as hell, and especially if you're also satisfied as far as the things that he wants out of his life, whether you're successful at work or whether you have many short-term girlfriends or whatever it is that you want, one-night stands, if you have that can make a guy really crazy jealous. So how do you make yourself, and also women obviously can be very, very taken aback, or they can feel, what do you call it? Like they feel like it's something, again, an affront to them if you're going your own way. I don't think this is such a big problem myself. I don't see women, mostly women I see is actually on this kind of topic, they're pretty cool. I found guys more weird about it, to be honest. But there probably is the random woman who's going to be really upset about it. I don't think it's the biggest thing you have to worry about in your life. Male jealousy is much worse. When guys, because everybody knows, okay, look, you know it, and everybody freaking out there knows it. When somebody's not living the life they want to live, it sucks, okay? It totally sucks. And everybody, they know it. It shows on their face. Their boss knows it. Their girlfriend knows it. Everybody freaking knows it. One of the funniest things I always think is when I'll be out with somebody and they'll get super angry at a waitress or whatever, right? And then afterwards, they'll say, I'll hear them talking about it, the situation. It's always interesting to me. They'll say, "Oh, I was super angry, but I didn't let her know, I bit my tongue," right? And what's so funny is I actually go back to the girls and I'll say, or the waitress, I'll say, "Hey, do you remember that guy?" And they'll say, "Oh yeah, I remember him. He was really angry." And I'll just start laughing, because it's like we think we're fooling everybody. We think nobody reads what we're feeling or what we're thinking. it doesn't matter if they say anything. Everybody knows exactly what they're thinking. They know the guy was totally angry, and maybe they didn't know why because he didn't explain himself. But how you feel and how other people feel is written all over their face. It's written all over their actions. So when that anger, okay, and that frustration at their life, especially if they've really had a bad life, like let's say they really have had a hard time. Let's say they've been divorced twice. Let's say they've lost $1 million. Let's say that they are not in good health. Let's say that they can't make the money again. Let's say that no woman wants to be with them. You know what I mean? Let's just say the worst things, right? The guy's he's got cancer, whatever. He could be very, very unhappy about his life and pissed off at people who aren't like that, right? So you got to be careful about this kind of stuff. And you have to make yourself so that you're not vulnerable, okay? It's one thing to change your thinking, right? But it's another thing to change your life, because when you change your life, you're going to have things come up and you need to be able to defend yourself, or to be like Bruce Lee. You're like water. They try to move the water just moves around the guy's hand and it comes right back to where it was, right? Water, you can try to move it as much as you want, but it just goes right back to where it was in the first place, right? And or it goes downhill or whatever. Water just does it. You can't force it, It just if it hits a tree, it goes around the tree, right? It's on the other side of the tree, And you want to be like that too, where you can't be. They can punch you, but it just goes right through you. And also, when you do what I'm talking about here in this video, when you set yourself up to be unblackmailable, people are smart. They know that you are, and they'll just forget about it. Because they'll realize, I can't do anything to this guy, right? It's like, I can't even, I remember one time I went to this guy who's a financial planner, and he was selling me this. I was in Shanghai, and he was trying to sell me these financial investments. And I was like looking at him, I just was, nice, but I didn't think it was very smart investments, So when it finished, he looked at me, he goes, "Don't worry about it, Paul. I know you're not going to buy any of this stuff." And I said, "Why is that?" He goes, "Because you're single and you're happy." He says, "Guys that usually buy these investments are people that are married and they're kind of miserable and they're worried about their future and everything, right?" He says, "I knew you weren't going to buy anything anyway, so don't worry about it." And he's like, we became friends at that point, because he knew it wasn't going to work on me, right? Because basically what his sales pitch is that you got to worry about your future. What if you break a leg? What if you die? What's going to happen to your family and your kids? So he was trying to scare people into buying his investments, right? But scare tactics wouldn't help me, because he says, "Oh, you're not going to be able to work." I say, "Okay, well, it can't work." It's like, it was different for me is when you have kids and when you have a wife that you have to support, that they need to eat, they need to go to school, right? A man can be very happy on very little. And I think a lot of MGTOWs got this right, is that you don't need a lot to be happy. I've had a lot and I've had little, and I tell you that my basic happiness doesn't change much. But I prefer to have more. I actually am very happy having a lot of money and being very successful as a MGTOW. And at the same time, as I realize the utter, essentially, meaningless of the whole thing. It's not like it has a lot of meaning for me. It's just that it's better. It's like, whatever, but it's better, right? I'd rather have it, right? I don't have any resentment against people that have money, or and I don't look down on people who don't have money. But I would say for myself, in my experience, is that it's always better to have the option. And that's why I'm very pro success. I'm very pro improving yourself. I'm very pro being social. I'm pro traveling. I'm actually pro sleeping with women and experiencing a lot of different women, so you can learn in real life what women are really like, instead of like from another person on a videotape. You can actually see women for what they are, because women have a lot to offer men, at the same time as there are some serious dangers that we need to address. So how to be unblackmailable. Okay, so first thing is, you can't do this all at once. Okay, you can't just like wake up tomorrow and be unblackmailable. You just have to know what you want and slowly move in that direction. Okay, so don't expect that tomorrow you're going to wake up and everything's going to be fine. You're still going to have things, but when you know what you want, it changes everything. Okay, so what I mean by that is, if you walk out your door and you're just going to go for a walk, you don't know where you're going to go, you just go for a walk, you just end up wandering around or whatever, taking the path you usually take and coming home, right? But if you know that you want to go to the bank and get some money out, you're going to walk straight to the bank because you know what you want, right? So what I'm saying here is if you know what you want, you're going to reach it. So the goal that you want in this case is that you're like water. Is like people will think, is it worth it with this guy? It's like, it's not worth it. He's totally self-sufficient. Like, there's nothing I can do to him, right? So they might be angry at you or jealous of you, but they're like, I'll take it out on somebody else, right? So first thing you can do is you can be very, very healthy, okay? So I lift weights. I do a very serious workout once a week. I don't mess around, and that keeps me strong. So like I said, I'll be 52 this month, 52 years old, and I am strong as an ox, right? And I can deadlift 400 pounds, sets of 400. I can take care of myself, okay? I've raced motorcycles, and when I crashed, I was never injured, partly due to luck, but also due to the fact that my body is quite sturdy, right? I've kept myself in shape. So if I do get in a fight, with once in a while, people have tried to rob me a couple times here in Asia. Like I said, I've lived in Asia since 1989. People tried to rob me, and I've been able to fight them off because I'm physically strong, and I'm not afraid. My mind is really super clear. I'm in the moment, and I think all this comes from knowing who I am and walking this path, this MGTOW path. I'm not confused about what's going on. I know exactly where I am and what I'm doing, and I am physically healthy. So that's the first thing. You got to be physically healthy. If you're not physically healthy, it's very difficult to be a strong MGTOW because you're dependent on other people. Maybe you're dependent on a nurse, or you're dependent on, some drugs, or you're dependent on, something else that you need. You need something, right? Your goal is not to physically need anything, to be in great shape, to wake up in the morning and feel good. You slept well. Yeah, another night well slept. You wake up, you drink your coffee, whatever you do in the morning. I drink coffee every morning right away. And you're ready to go. You're ready to create some new stuff. You're ready to do some new things, right? First thing is health. The second thing is you want to have an income where you can't be fired. Okay, now this one is the long-term one, okay? I think you can talk about being a MGTOW all you want, but if you work in a company, especially in America, North America, you're in Canada, you're in America, and you have opinions that are different than society, believe you me, if anybody finds out about that, you can be fired. Because what happens is you will not be popular anymore in the group. No one's going to try to understand you, right? They're going to assume the worst. He hates women, and they're going to say, this guy's got to go. This is the type of hater. This is the type of terrible person we don't want in our company, and that the people will turn against you, and eventually you'll be forced to quit, or you'll be so uncomfortable that you will leave. So when you choose your own path, and it's different than society, I can't really tell you all the stories of guys who've been screwed with this, but there's a lot. And that's why guys are so scared. They're hiding it, right? They're covering it up. So if you're a MGTOW and you're sitting there in a company, every day you go to work, and you go to work every day, right? And you know that you can't be honest with people at work. What are you doing? Like, what is this the goal you want? Is this what you want? You want to secretly be going your own way? Kind of like, I don't know, like a creature that only moves at night, goes out and goes his own way. No, man, I don't go to work at all. I haven't had a job. I haven't had a real job most of my life. I've had companies, and I've had people working for me, and I've worked as a consultant and things like that, but I've never had like a 9-to-5 boring job. And today, every day I get up, I'm here in Asia right now, in Thailand, and I wake up in the morning and I just kind of do my thing. I get up, I listen to some audiobooks, I watch a few MGTOW videos, I think about my life, I write down a few notes, have some food, maybe I get out of my apartment, maybe 1 o'clock, and then I walk around and I either make a video, I shoot a video, I think about what I want to do, maybe write some notes, maybe write an article, maybe I meet a friend. A lot of friends come visit where I am. It's quite fun, so people come visit, I'll take them around. Friday, one of the friends coming, so I'll take people out. And I just do my own thing. I have my own schedule. I don't have to go to work. So when I had a project last year, which I'm not going to talk about specifics because then you'll know my real name. But I did a project which became worldwide well known. It was mentioned by 382,000 blogs and news sites. And when that happened, it was a situation where I was like taking a serious risk, doing something, putting my ass out there for something that I believed in, that I wanted to do. But a lot of people, although there was a ton of support, and that's why it was mentioned by so many people, it was also hated by a lot of people. And I got death threats. Now, death threats don't really bother me, to be honest. I take them more as a challenge. I'm like, come on, give it a try, It's not that easy, That's my reaction when someone gives me a death threat. Like, I really think, come and try and let's get it over with, you know what I mean? You want to fucking, you know what I mean? Like, come over here, let's do it, Let's get it done, let's get this out of the way, And probably I'm going to figure out who it is, and they're going to have trouble from me. So that's my basic viewpoint on that. And that comes from confidence of years of having to deal and protect myself here in Asia all by myself. I've been, like I said, I've been robbed many times. I've been jumped by many guys, and I've taken care of myself, And I'm not really. I think it's actually good for me as a man. And I actually tell my friends, and this is one thing I'll just throw in here as a bonus, but I think that if you almost die once a year, it's one of the best things you do for yourself as a man. So, for example, maybe you almost die from drowning from surfing, the waves are too big. Or maybe you almost die from somebody tries to rob you, but you fight back, right? And, I don't know, just something, I could go through all the things that happened to me, but there are many and varied. But I think the key thing is that when you almost die as a man, okay, we're all going to die anyway, okay? And I'm not saying I'm fearless. I'm just saying that this creates my testosterone in my body, which I believe keeps me a better MGTOW, a better man, and a stronger man and a younger man. So I think that this is what evolutionary-wise we all went through. Our relatives all went through life and death situations on a regular basis. And today, everybody sits around fat guys in Starbucks. That's modern society to me. It's fat guys in Starbucks reading feminist books, That's basically the way I look at most guys, And that's not the way I live my life. So that's another thing. I'm not blackmailable because, one, I'm healthy. Two, I don't have a regular job. I work on my own. I have my online videos. I have my YouTube channels. I have my products that I sell, and it's totally out. There's nobody that can stop it. It's the internet, right? If people like my stuff, they buy it, And I tell very honest stuff because I don't have anybody telling me what to do. There's nobody in my life who has that say-so on what I create. And I can tell you this has been over time, has matured. I've matured because I've often had partnerships before, work with other people, and the problem with that is that it doesn't allow me to really tell the truth from my perspective, because the other person always has the truth from their perspective, right? Or they're afraid. They're afraid that if we say this, no one's going to buy our stuff anymore. People are going to look down on us. It's going to lose our partnership with this and that. But for me, when I do it myself, when I own it myself, when I have my own business, and especially when it's online, because you can have your own business, okay? So listen carefully what I'm saying here. How you're unblackmailable is not necessarily by having your own business. Because let's say I have a business and my main client is Microsoft, okay? Now, if I do anything that Microsoft doesn't like and they find out about it, even though it's my own business, when I lose that client, I lose my business, my biggest client, right? I either go bankrupt or I'm in serious trouble or I need to get a loan or, all these things can happen to me. The advantage of having your own brand on the internet is that you can sell individually to different people in the world. And if you're being honest, okay, like I am honest with my stuff, is that the people that buy your stuff, the people that buy into your thinking are the people who like you. You're telling the truth. You're telling something that's maybe socially unacceptable at times. And they're listening to it going, oh my gosh, this is like the most awesome thing. Like, I love this guy. Like, this is what I feel. This is who I am. So the emotional attachment is very strong because you're finally telling the truth to other people. So that's why having your own brand, having your own online money, making money online is so very, very important because nobody can stop it. So with Microsoft, you could have one client, but if they don't buy your stuff anymore, they cancel the contract, you're on your own. When you're selling on the internet, you're selling to hundreds of guys, thousands of people, and they're all over the place. And none of them think the same. So even if a scandal comes out or something, your sales might rise. because some people might think that's cool, right? Whereas when you have a big client, they always take the conservative route, and you're always very, very blackmailable. And so if your girlfriend or if your friend finds out what you're doing, your enemy, they just tell the company, hey, this guy's no good, he's doing this. And the company's like, oh, hey, we appreciate, all the work you've done, and we support you in what you're doing, but we can't, Microsoft can't be seen, associating with this behavior, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It's a million things, you guys. It's not like one thing. It's not like you're doing something wrong. You're not cutting people's bodies up, putting them in a freezer. You're just like not doing exactly what society wants. And big companies have to be very careful to do exactly what society wants. And that's what they do, right? That's why corporate guys are just, to me, like being a corporate guy is like the worst sellout in the whole world for me. That would be, I've never been a corporate guy because I can't even imagine the soul-sucking evilness of it, Like, I just spent a couple of weeks in the Shangri-La, and when I was there, it's all corporate guys, right? And I was just like blown away by how boring everybody was. I was really amazed. I was like, oh my gosh, these guys have all dumbed themselves down so hard over the years that they just have this like fake smile on their face. It's like, oh, it's terrible. If you're in this situation, right? You're waking up with the red pill here. I'm sorry if this comes across as harsh, but I mean, this is what friends do. This is what friends tell the truth. And if you're living a life that's a lie, that's not making you happy, it's better to know about it. And it's better to know about it very clear because, and if you know about it, you know that there are other options. You don't have to do this anymore. You can do other things. So I would say one thing is you definitely want to have the ultimate goal of having your own business online. So whether it's an online brand, whether you're selling a digital product online, you're selling products as an affiliate, you have a YouTube channel where you get a lot of views and you live off that. Or if you, I don't know, there's a lot of things you can do to be less blackmailable, right? You can be a freelance where you have a lot of different clients and no one client that controls you, right? That's another good way because it's not perfect, but it's a good way. And it allows you to be much less blackmailable, right? Just not being blackmailable is one of the most freeing things you can ever imagine. So you don't want to be blackmailable with money. You don't want to be blackmailable with women. You don't want to be blackmailable with your family. Okay, so you might have to, at some point, depending on your relationship with your parents and your family, you might have to be honest with them about the way you think about life. I don't recommend it if you don't have to. What I would recommend with family is just to be nice to them, do your own thing, let them do their own thing. And if somebody tries to blackmail you, like says, hey, calls your mom and says, hey, he's doing this, has this many girlfriends, or, he's doing this or that. And you just call your mom and the jig's up and you tell your mom the truth, right? You say, Mom, I got it, I'm a man now, and I didn't feel like it was your business. I didn't want to tell you in the beginning, but I want to tell you very honestly about my life right now. And this is the way I live my life. And this will allow you to be, even though you haven't done any defense, but you're not blackmailable, because the minute that it comes out, you're prepared to go right up. You know what I mean? In fact, if somebody threatens you, I'm going to go to your mom or I'm going to go to your client, is what you can do is, if you're prepared, you say, look, don't even bother. You have these pictures of me, whatever, having sex in a park with this girl. Don't even worry about it. Don't bother taking the time to send the email, because I'll send the pictures myself and I'll CC you. What's your email address? I'll send it to my mom right now. Yeah. And don't worry about it. I have a better quality one than you probably have anyway. So, this kind of attitude is like, whoa, and do it, right? And do it. Send the naked pictures to your mom and then CC them, It's like, you are not blackmailable. It's one thing to have a little problem with your mom, but it's another thing to be living in shadows of fear. And you don't want to live in that. You want to be ready for anybody to do anything at any time, because you are going outside the boundaries of society right now. When you go MGTOW, there are people who will be very against that, very jealous of you, very angry at you. And also there's going to be a hell of a lot of people who are going to be cheering you on, Again, you don't have to tell everybody what you're doing, but eventually people will figure it out. And as they do, if you're being a real, a strong person, people say, don't say be a man, so whatever, being a strong person or whatever. If you're being legitimate and you're being true to yourself, in the end, the truth will win out. But you can't be blackmailable, because that can really take everything down. If you are blackmailed, let's say that you are living the life that you want to live, and somebody really takes it to you, right? They screw you over. They call your girlfriend. They show pictures. They do this. They do that. This is the opportunity to rethink your life. Okay? Every once in a while in life, things happen that aren't good, but turn out to be good. Okay? So this is what I'm saying as a caveat to not being blackmailable, is that if you are blackmailed and you do lose the business, think of it this way. Okay, say that you were, I don't know, you were an alcoholic, right? And you drank too much. And then finally you got fired because the boss found you drinking, whatever, in the bathroom or whatever, and then he fired you, or, he sent you to rehab or whatever. And the jig was up, and everything was maybe you lost a job, let's say, right? So in that situation, you're forced to undergo some major changes in your life, some structural changes, right? And this can be a good thing. It can be a good thing for you. So don't be too afraid of it, but you want to set yourself up as much as possible that you're not blackmailable. So maybe in the beginning, but eventually long term, you're building your life in a way that you're proud of, and no matter how mean somebody was or somebody wanted to do something to you, it just isn't possible, because you're like a ghost. They try to grab you and they can't grab you. And that's the same way with the girls too. They see you as an easy target to get married and to support them. And, but it's like, you're like a ghost. You're there, but you're as soon as they try to grab you, they try to squeeze you, you're gone. You just disappear into thin air. And then you're standing over there. They can't quite grab you. And I think that's what girls like. I think a lot of women have been very fascinated with me because I'm a nice guy. But at the same time, they can't grab me. They just can't nail me down. And it just confounds them, and they love it. They want to keep trying to chase me. They want to keep trying to, to be the one that tames me or whatever, And so it's these are the things that you can do to make yourself successful and in true personal change, long term. That's what we want. We want you and to be a MGTOW where you're proud of yourself. You're proud of who you are. You know where you're going. You know what you're doing, but you're not angry anymore. Eventually, you've gotten over it. You've forgiven. You've forgiven the women, because you see that we are all just doing the things that we were programmed to do, either by society, by our genes, or whatever. And we're not backbiting. One reason why people get so angry is they never see the faults in themselves. And they can't see the foolish things they've done, and they only see it in other people. And it's very easy to be angry with everybody else except yourself, right? Once you realize that you make mistakes too, and you're not perfect, and you've actually been nasty and screwed people over and done things in the past, it also helps you to forgive other people, because you're like, people that live in glass houses can't throw stones. And I know that I live in a glass house and that I'm an imperfect person. But I also know that 24 years of being MGTOW, I've learned a hell of a lot. And so I want to share that experience with you, and I want to hear your experiences, what you've gone through, and I want to meet with other top people who've done it, who are on this road and have wisdom to share with me, because I appreciate that also very much. So thank you very much for listening. Don't be blackmailable. Here's the steps. I talked about it in the video. Go back and listen a couple times. This is a big one. And please leave comments below. I'll be happy to make another video on this topic, because this is a very, very important one. Because you can think all you want, but if you act one way, you're setting yourself up to be weak. You're setting yourself up for people to be able to manipulate you, right? And that manipulation is what creates the anger. Part of the reason why I'm not angry is because they can't catch me. You know what I mean? I would be much more angry if they were catching me. But they can't. They're just trying, they're trying, but they can't, And so, that allows me to have a positive attitude, right? So part of not being angry is the hard work that you put in advance of thinking and planning and action and personal improvement and changes that allow you to be that person that they just can't get angry with. It's like, they can't catch, they can't get angry, and they just finally realize that you have a lot to offer. You don't hate them either. You like them too. But at the same time as you can't be caught, and you won't do what you won't live what society wants you to live. So, and I guess one last thing is traveling really helps. Traveling really, really helps. When I started traveling, that allowed me to break away from a lot of cultural things, and also from my friends. My friends were actually one of the things that held me back the most. If I stayed back with my friends back home, I don't think there's any way I could have become the man I am today. And when I go back home, my real friends are still there, and they're very grateful because they know me. They know I'm an honest guy who cares about people, but I also have a lot of wisdom that I picked up that they could never find because they were out there living in the States and doing their regular thing. And I have a lot of wisdom from living around the world and speaking languages and doing businesses and this and that. And I have a lot to learn from their steadfastness and sense of humor too. So there you go. Thanks for listening. And hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. If you hit that subscribe button and share this with any friends on Facebook or Twitter or whatever social network you like, I really appreciate it. Even if nobody else clicks on it, I appreciate it because it's like you're trying to give back, and I want to give back. So any comments you have, let me know. Any questions, put them in the box, and I will make a video about them. That's my promise right now. Until I get too many, anything you put in there, I'm going to make a video about it. So thank you very much. It's been Ronin Man. Appreciate you listening, and don't be blackmailable. Until next time.